Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
All right, we are live here. People will be joining us shortly here for a very special Wednesday edition. I'll tell you what, man, this just caught my eye. This was actually fresh off the press here. So Terence Crawford is actually suing Top Rank. He's alleging racial bias. He says that Top Rank is actually favoring white and Latino boxers in his lawsuit against Top Rank. The lawsuit, incidentally, is $10 million. It's a $10 million lawsuit. I don't know, I'll give you some of the details here from ESPN. This is from his lawyer, Brian Friedman, Crawford's lawyer. He said it's unfortunate that Top Rank did not treat Crawford properly and in fact spoke out regularly against him. He said this suit claims that when Crawford signed to fight Edges Kavaluskas in 2019, the agreement included a $900,000 payment if Top Rank didn't in good faith offer Crawford a bout with Spence by the end of 2020. All right, well, right there, I could see a big problem. Number one, 2020, everybody knows there's a big pandemic going on in 2020. That fight couldn't have come off. There's no reasonable person could have expected that fight to come off in 2020. Sports were being canceled left and right in 2020. It couldn't have happened. It couldn't have happened and made financial sense. But does Terence Crawford hold their feet to the fire? He could. And do they owe him $900,000? That's possible. I don't. $10 million though? Really, $10 million? He says Friedman goes on to say, unlike other boxers bound to Top Rank contracts, Terence can assert his claims in court without Top Rank forcing him to sit out. Make no mistake, this is a game changer. I think he's referring. This is the same lawyer that represented Mikey Garcia, where Garcia sat on the shelf for 3 years, while he was going back and forth with Top Rank. Now I get you, but the problem is, listen, man, this puts Terence in a bad spot. The Josh Taylor fight is gone now. All right, that was his biggest fight. That and the Spence fight really were his biggest fights. Those fights are now gone. And I'll explain the Spence fight here in a minute. But also too, if you're a promoter, I think you got to be a little bit leery of this guy. This is a guy who, in the past, nobody. Listen, it's a real easy thing. It's as simple as you can get it. All you have to do is get people to like you. Whether they like you or hate you, you just got to get them to watch. That's the key. That is the key to anything, to podcasting, to TV, to movies. You just got to get them to watch. So you got to have something that compels them. Terence Crawford doesn't have that. He doesn't have a personality. He doesn't have that great of a camera person. Nothing draws people into him. He's not the good guy. He's not the bad guy. He's a good fighter. Hardcores come in and say, hey, I want to watch him fight because I know he's good.
He's like Deadpool in Marvel. He's the anti-hero.
He's the anti-hero. There you go.
He's neutral. He's like the Beeb.
He's neutral. He's like Switzerland.
He's like the Beeb. I know I'm a good guy. But anyways, he's like the Beeb, the anti-hero.
The anti-hero. And I mean, he again, nothing draws you to watch his fights. And the fights that he's been fighting, aside from this Porter fight that he just had, nobody's knocking down the door to see it. Nobody is knocking down the door to see it. And so you say, well, this is great because this frees him up to fight Spence. Well, not exactly. So Tim Smith went on the PBC podcast. He's the vice president over there at Al Heyman Industries, or whatever they call it over there, PBC, Al Heyman Industries, whatever. He's the VP over there. He's kind of like I am with Beam Industries. There you go. There's a correlation for you.
Yeah, we gave you a nice bump up this year.
Very nice bump up. Very nice bump up.
We took care of you, man.
Sure.
You've been doing good work for us, so we took care of you.
Absolutely. I try. And so, Tim Smith was on the podcast and he says, look, he said, the fight's just not viable. He said it's basically not economically viable. We can't make money based on Terence Crawford's pay-per-view track record. We can't make money with him. Now, whether that's the fact or whether it's not the fact, he said it boils down to capital. And I think that what he's saying is they can't pay Terence Crawford what he's used to being paid. They can pay Errol Spence, but you look at Errol Spence's opponents, they're not getting anywhere near what Errol Spence is getting. So in order to make this fight, you have to give them a big piece of the pie, and they can't really afford to do that.
We can argue that Terence Crawford's the highest paid welterweight in the world. I mean, he got $6 million his last fight. And from what I heard, and it's been reported, that he has a $3 million minimum guarantee regardless of who he fights. Right? I want to say when he fought Kell Brook, I think he got like $4 million for that fight. He got $5 million for Amir Khan. He's made some good money with Top Rank. He's the second highest paid fighter on the roster, right? So it's and here's the thing, right? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a manager, a boxing manager. I'm not a boxing business insider. But it seems to me that this, like you said, it's career suicide, because at some point you're going to want to fight again. And PBC's already saying they can't afford you. Bob had no problem working with you again in the future. He just didn't want to be involved in a long-term deal with you. He wanted to do a fight to fight with you. So now this probably destroys that, right? And as you said, Eddie Hearn's going to look at this and he's like, well, if he sued Bob, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to be accused of anything. So again, what is this? Is he going to retire? Does he even want the Spence fight? He's saying he wants to move up to 154 and challenge Charlo. But again, what are you going to be expecting to make over there? Because if they're not going to pay you to fight Spence, how much is the expectation of fighting Charlo? It seems like this is a dilemma that he put himself in.
And Lion Killer makes a good point here. He said it's a promoter's job to draw fans to the fight. Some job fighters are easier than others. I agree with you. And I think they do have to shoulder some of this responsibility.
Sure.
But when a fighter won't do interviews, like he's been accused of doing, and it's true because, listen, man, this guy, you never see him on interviews. You don't. It's not like he's going out of his way. Look, Floyd, you see Floyd all the time. You know what I mean? Everybody wants that Floyd Mayweather money, Beeb. Nobody wants to do the work that he put in. And that is so underrated, the work that he put in. Nobody really understands it. The stuff that he did to basically, promote himself. And as a fighter, if you want to get paid, he does. He has to be promoted. Watch Your Mouth says he does interviews. Where are these interviews at? Where are these scary, where are these interviews at? How many? Let's do it. How many interviews have you seen Terence Crawford and Beeb?
Not a lot. He won't do podcasts either.
He won't do anything. Right? I mean, seriously, he won't do anything. If he's not willing to promote himself, then what, they pop up all the time. Okay. Where? Again, where? You don't see him. What some random guy interviews him out in the street? You know what I mean? Or at a fight, we'll see him for like 5 seconds. You've seen a few. You're right. Okay, so you've seen a few. We've seen a few too. YouTube, right? Get you. We've seen a few also. But compare that to the number of, say, Danny Garcia interviews. The number of Errol Spence interviews. I've seen way more Errol Spence interviews. Compare it to any other fighter. To Shakur, Shakur Stevenson interviews. We've seen those. Any other fighter, anywhere, Robert Easter, Adrian Bronner, any other fighter. Callie King says Crawford just seems like a quiet dude. He is. I believe he is. I believe he's one of those guys that probably keeps to himself. He hones his craft and everything like that, and there's nothing wrong with that until you start asking to get paid big money. Because you have to make yourself interesting. It is what it is. Your promoter has to shoulder some of that, but you got to shoulder some of that too. And for him to say that Top Rank is, they're racist, blah, blah, blah. Very first thing, when I pull up the fighters page, right top of the page, who's up there? Shakur Stevenson. There you go. Who else is up there? Shakur Stevenson, Jamel Herring. Didn't they promote Sugar Ray Leonard?
Yes.
Marvin Hagler,
Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns at in spots. George Foreman. First
Floyd
fight he ever promoted was Muhammad Ali, 1971. So
there you go. Alex T said Crawford go to TMT Mayweather. That'd be the same thing as really going to the PBC, no?
He's not. No one's going to give him a long-term deal, and I don't think he's probably.
No.
I don't think he
wants
gonna,
one. I don't know
that
that
he
really
saying. I don't think he's probably going to ask
one.
for one either. So,
yeah, that's the thing, man. It's a tough. The $10 million is a tough sell. Does he have a case for the 900,000? maybe. Probably. I mean, if they signed a contract, listen, you got to honor the contract. So it doesn't. So, you know, Watch Your Mouth said he's a knockout artist. Loma's not a personality. Loma, people are drawn to Loma for whatever reason. They're drawn to him. That's it. I mean, I don't know. You know, like I said, man, he's got to shoulder some of this responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is this has been a tumultuous relationship between both parties, and it's crazy. It's crazy that they can't work this out. You know what I mean?
I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Yeah, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it just doesn't. The thing that really got me though was the PBC, and I want to get your take on this on the PBC. So, Tim Smith yesterday said that they can't really they don't have the capital, which the money to bring Crawford over. Okay, they don't have the money to bring Crawford over. So. So him fighting Spence, that fight isn't going to happen. They flat out said that financially they're not really interested in it. So Spence, we know, is not really interested in the fight anyway. So that's a big one. I mean, Beeb, all their fights have gone on pay-per-view. You had an interesting take before we came on the air about them being broke, about them just not.
They're having some issues financially because, again, everyone's sitting there questioning, oh, why is that on pay-per-view? Why is this on pay-per-view? And we've gone over this. We've gone over this a few times. The networks aren't going to give them the date, right? And they're not going to put up the money for the fight. So they're saying, you guys put it on pay-per-view and you shoulder the financial responsibility. That's why there's the smaller guarantees, and they're going to have to get the rest of the revenue for the fighters via the pay-per-view route. And then the promoter has to, do the promotion for the pay-per-view, spend the money on the promotion for the pay-per-view. The networks, the networks don't want to, give these guys dates for these fights because they don't think the fights are worth it. They're not going to, bump up. Fox isn't going to bump off, a show or a sporting event and put a fight on that isn't going to do the numbers that the other sporting event or the other show would do. They're not going to give them a date and lose advertising spots, right? And lose viewership and get low numbers for these fights, right? I'm sure if they put together better fights, then maybe Fox and maybe Showtime would give them more dates. But again, for the amount of money that these fighters want, the networks just aren't going to pay the upfront money for them, and they're not going to give them the dates. Simple as that.
Let me see if we can pull up 100. According to Ring Magazine, Crawford and Porter had 135,000 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah,
that's according to Ring Magazine.
Very low.
135. Numbers. That was his biggest fight. Arguably his biggest fight. No, that's the biggest name. Am I wrong?
It's biggest name.
Biggest name, right? And he garnered, and Sean Porter's a popular guy. He does a lot of interviews, popular guy. 135,000.
Now, I do think that they would have done better numbers, not substantially better numbers, but I don't think that they should have just had it exclusively on the app in terms of people buying the pay-per-view, just use the app itself. I know that the UFC fans do it that way, but it's a younger audience. So I think it's a little different. Some of the boxing crowd, they're not, they're older. They're not in tune with the app. So Crawford did complain that why was it only available to be purchased on the app via pay-per-view? And I understand that, but how much more buys would it have done if it was on a cable provider as well as the app? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe another 50,000. And so you do 185,000. That's not great numbers either.
How many would it have done? I mean, and that's the other thing too. Okay, so they're doing this on the ESPN app, and I guess they do this because I know the UFC does it, but UFC gets crazy numbers too.
Younger audience too. So
right, younger audience here, and I mean, if they were to offer, but they offer this, but there's a catch-22 here. Because if you do offer this on, say, like DirecTV and the cable companies, they're taking half right off the top, and you're going to lose money that way too. You're going to get more money this way, I believe, with the ESPN deal. I would imagine they cut them some kind of break.
Well, it's more cost effective doing it on the app because you don't have to pay the cable provider.
Right.
Save a lot of money that way. That's the way to go.
The Axiom said, according to PBC, Bud was in the draw. That's what they're saying. That's what Tim Smith. That's what we're talking about here. Is Tim Smith went on there last night and said that. It is. It's just a tough sell. The fight that everybody wants to see is him and Spence.
Yeah.
Does it? I mean, what are Spence's numbers? Let me see if we can find Spence's numbers here, and see what his pay-per-view numbers.
His numbers are better than Crawford's.
Spence Porter did about 170,000 buys, according to New York Fights. So not by much. Not by much.
But Spence, what did Spence? Mikey Garcia did great numbers.
Well, that's 360,000. They did 360,000 according to ESPN. Okay, so but the caveat, of course, is that went through the Fox promotional machine, and was on Sunday. I remember they were talking about it on Sunday Football and everything like that. I believe it was Sunday Football, but I remember seeing a bunch of advertisements on Fox for that.
Yeah,
and that makes a difference too. That makes a huge difference.
Danny Garcia did 250,000 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, so Spence does move the needle a little bit more than, but he also has better opponents too.
Better name opponents, yeah, but
name opponents. Absolutely.
But that Porter Crawford fight, I would have thought that it would have at least done 200,000 pay-per-view buys, maybe 250.
Very least.
Very least,
right?
And I don't
230,
know.
250.
I just don't know why that number is so low. And I do know that Spence does have a name in Dallas, and then Texas is a bigger market than Omaha for boxing. So, and there's a big Hispanic population that loves boxing, in the Texas area. And because Spence was at Dallas Stadium and he fought there, and as you said, the Fox machine I think is a little bit better than the ESPN machine. I think they get behind the PBC fighters a little bit more than the ESPN crew gets behind the top ranked fighters. So I think that's a better situation over there without question. But at the end of the day, the only superstars we have in boxing right now is Canelo, Joshua, and Fury. And even Deontay Wilder's proven to move the needle a little bit now. So he's did some great pay-per-view numbers with Tyson Fury. These, like I said before, sometimes you just put two people together and it's magic. Fury by himself doesn't do great numbers. Wilder by himself doesn't do great numbers. But you put the two, these two guys together and the story they have, right? And they just move the needle, right? So,
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and that's the other thing too. Like, And they somebody in the chat brought up a good point. Opponents matter when it comes to pay-per-views, and he's right. The undercard matters when it comes to pay-per-views, I believe. But the opponents, like I said, Garcia is a popular guy. Mikey Garcia is a popular guy. Danny Garcia, Porter, all these guys, and that makes for bigger type of fights. I get it. How much does Top Rank have to shoulder on this? In the sense that I get that Crawford doesn't really do interviews, doesn't do that many interviews. He's not the most charismatic guy. He's not the most outspoken guy, that kind of thing. But as far as the opponents he's been given, Porter is the biggest name on his resume. I mean, as far as like star power, he's the biggest name on his resume. Is he the best fighter? That's debatable, but he's definitely the biggest star power.
I would think he was the best fighter as well, too, my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made for sure.
Sure.
So, Spence is over there getting Garcia. He's got Porter. He's got Ugas coming up next. So he's fighting some pretty good guys. He's fought nothing but name guys since he's really became the champion.
He's fought Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia.
Mikey Garcia but he's a big name. He's a name.
Sean Porter, decent name.
Decent name.
Dennis
Ugas, not a big name, but for all the marbles, he's got a title. They're gonna unify it.
He does better numbers. It's just whether his numbers are super. I'm not saying his numbers are superstar numbers, Errol Spence, but they're still better than Terence Crawford's. He's doing almost double. He's doing double what Terence Crawford does in terms of numbers. So that has to be taken into account without question.
And I think so if they were to fight, you would have to make Spence the A side, right? I don't think there's any question about that.
I don't think there's any question.
60-40, maybe even 35, maybe.
65-35, yeah.
Yeah. Ben G says if Bud stays a free agent, he gets no fights with PBC. I don't know that that's accurate.
It's going to be tough. I'm not going to say he's going to get no fights, but listen, no one's going to pay him what Aaron paid him, my opinion.
Well, and then the other thing too is that PBC, Tim Smith yesterday in that interview, they were kind of indicating, look, we can't take him on. We can't even put him up.
Well, it wasn't even about
to put him up.
It wasn't even about them taking him on. They can't even consider. They're not even considering doing the Spence fight with him.
No. I think that's the thing. That to me is like, wow. Really? You're not even considering him for the Spence fight? And then, so to me, Crawford makes a lot of bad decisions, man. He really does. I think his decision to stick with Top Rank this far into his career might have been a bad move for him. But if you had all this animosity toward him, why did you re-up with him in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, why did you re-up? You saw everybody crossing the street. Everybody, all the big names were on the other side of the street, and you re-upped.
Well, not only that, if Top Rank wasn't happy with him either, in terms of him not getting the numbers that they wanted him to get, then why did they re-sign him too? Why did both parties enter this relationship?
Yeah, Ben G just says Errol doesn't want to fight Bud. No, he doesn't. I think he's made that clear.
Well, he's being told not to fight him too because of the money.
And I don't think he's scared of him. I don't think any fighter's scared of anybody. They're not. But if he can make the same amount of money fighting lesser opposition, he's going to do that.
He's being financially advised.
Yeah.
To not fight him. Because there's other fights out there for just as much, if not more money, and they're better matchups for him.
Watchmouth says that we're sitting here. Let me put this on the screen here. We're sitting here blaming Crawford for being the best while making excuses for everyone else.
No, we're just being honest about the situation.
Just being honest, yeah, right.
We're telling you something that you don't want to hear, and it's kind of bothering you. That's the fact. Sounds like.
Yeah,
I mean, he sold 135,000 pay-per-view buys. I mean,
listen, if it was up to us, we'd make the fight tomorrow. You know what I mean? I'd like to see these guys fight. But in reality, man, it doesn't look like this fight's going to happen.
I mean,
period.
If you went to the store, you're not going to buy a hamburger for double the price if you can get it cheaper somewhere else.
Yeah,
that's what it's a business. No one likes to hear that, but it's at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a business. Right?
And I think everybody, and everybody shares the blame in this. Top Rank shares the blame. Crawford shares the blame. Top Rank, I'm going to blame Top Rank a little bit here too, because look, man, they could have got him better opponents. They should have gotten him better opponents. And they didn't. And I get it. He was undisputed. I get it. But, he didn't. Listen, he fought good guys to be undisputed. Make no mistake. Those guys that he fought to become undisputed, they were all good fighters. And I hear people all the time saying, oh, he knocked out Ndongo. Ndongo sucked, blah, blah, blah. Okay, first off, Ndongo didn't suck. All right, Ndongo was a really good fighter. Ndongo was the one that unified those belts. All right. And you could say what you want. Terence Crawford he did what he did, But they never really got him that name opponent that he needed to be good. Well, just like Errol Spence had that opponent, have those opponents. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Beeb. I'm sorry.
I just think it's a different situation for Errol Spence because they were all in-house fights for Errol Spence. And I think Bob Arum did the fight with Fury and Wilder, and he thought because of that would have broken the ice, and he thought that he could have gotten some of those other guys like Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence. He could have got some of those PBC welterweights over there, and it just didn't work out the way they anticipated. I don't think anyone anticipated that Spence was going to get frozen out like this. So I understand that you have to do what you got to do. You got to play the hand you're dealt, right? And you have to have a plan B. I totally understand what you're saying, but I think the biggest problem is just the PBC people not wanting to do, fights with Bob Arum, not wanting to let their welterweights fight Terence Crawford.
So Eduardo Escobar says Crawford suing Bob. Yeah, he is. He's suing him for $10 million. I think the lawsuit to me is frivolous. I think
he's not going to. I don't see how he's going to.
I see that lawsuit going nowhere. For you to say that Top Rank is, using racial bias and everything against black fighters and everything.
And here's the thing.
Shut up.
It was someone mentioned in the chat. I'm not sure if it was Benji or somebody in the chat mentioned that he can get countersued, and he most certainly can get countersued for defamation.
You know what? And yeah, he really could. That's a great point. He could absolutely get countersued for that. Now, whether he will or not, I don't think this lawsuit goes anywhere. I think it gets dropped. I think some money gets paid. And he could still fight, and Crawford could still fight, Crawford could still fight, but now who does he fight? You're not fighting anybody from the PBC now. You're not going to fight anybody from Top Rank. The Josh Taylor fight, okay, so if you take Spence out of the mix, the Josh Taylor fight was the biggest money fight on the docket for Terence Crawford. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Biggest money fight. Teofimo Lopez wanted that fight. Teofimo Lopez ain't getting that fight because that fight is worth substantially less now that he lost and lost in the way he did. All right. He lost that fight. He ain't getting that fight, right? Crawford was in line. That's the fight they wanted to make next. Him and Josh Taylor. That was a big money fight. If you take it overseas, it's a huge money fight. And now that's gone. I mean, that is all but gone with this lawsuit. Would you agree with that, Beeb?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. That's a very good point.
So now where do you go? All right, so where does this go? Are you going to go to Oscar? That clown show over there? Are you kidding me? There ain't no way he's going over there.
No, he's not going over
Oscar's got nobody to fight over there. All right, so, then what? You go to Eddie Hearn? How many welterweights he got over there?
Conor Ben.
Which ironically enough, could make money over in the UK. Would make a lot of money over in the UK, except for Conor Ben's not ready for that kind of thing yet.
No, he's not going near him.
He's not ready for that yet.
He's not going near him. Got Josh Kelly. He's got Josh Kelly too, I think.
Josh Kelly. Armchair Warrior says Bud's going to Bellator.
David Avanesian.
Yeah, there you go. So now if he can't go to PBC and work out a deal there, which it doesn't sound like he can, because he obviously wants the big money. He wants to fight Spence. But listen, nobody's beating down his door.
No.
Why don't we watch him fight?
No.
It's just not.
I don't see, the strategy behind this. I just don't see what the end game is. There's no way. What is it that you said the figure was? What's he suing for? 10 million?
10 million.
He's not getting that.
According to the lawsuit, the only part that really makes sense that he could have a shot with is that 900,000, because they said they would offer him 900,000 if they were not able to make a good faith effort with the Spence fight in 2020. In 2020, of course, was the pandemic. You can't make anything in 2020. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, but listen,
is it in writing?
The Deontay Wilder, I would assume so. The Deontay Wilder, that rematch was supposed to take place in 2020, wasn't it? Am I wrong there? Wasn't that Fury?
Yes.
Rematch supposed to take place in 2020.
Yes, it was.
Fury wanted to fight Joshua.
Yep.
And that whole thing, but then Wilder got it because of the 2020 thing. So based on that, and again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm really talking out of pocket here, just my common sense would tell me that he could be entitled to that,
that's a tough
900,000.
Tough one.
It is a tough one.
We don't know how it's worded and if it's written down. Like Bob is not dumb. He's a lawyer himself, so he's not gonna.
And again, we're not privy to the contract or anything like that. I'm just going on what the article read. So yeah, I mean,
and everyone's sitting there saying like Mikey Garcia won his lawsuit against Top Rank. Not
3 years later. He was on the shelf for 3 years.
Not really. I mean, all Bob did was stall him out and he released him.
Right.
That's a win. You couldn't fight for 3 years.
Yeah. And now
you didn't get any monetary damages. Where'd you win?
Right. And the only advantage Crawford has here, suing Top Rank, is that he can still fight. Okay. Because he's not under contract with him anymore. They could still fight.
But at some point,
the problem is you're suing a promoter.
But like you
said,
and
the other promoters are going to take note.
But like you said, at some point in time, you're going to want to fight Josh Taylor. You're gonna want to fight fighters over there at some point. You're going to need a promoter at some point. You're going to want to. I would think you'd want to go back, and do business with Top Rank if need be, right? Why would you just cut them out of the equation 100%? You already been told you can't. You PBC can't afford you, right? So you're not going to be able to fight over there, and who are you going to fight over at Golden Boy? I mean, you can fight Virgil Ortiz. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe he can go to Golden Boy, fight a Virgil Ortiz, possibly. Virgil Ortiz will be ranked, will be his mandatory at some point. I mean, and then he was talking about moving up to 154 and taking on Jamal Charlo. How much money I repeat, how much do you want for that? It's
how much?
Charlo, like which Charlo going to fight you for?
Yeah. And I think that Bud beats Charlo. I do too. I think that Bud beats Castano. Listen.
The only thing
you're beating everybody. We get you. Nobody wants to see you fight, though. That's the problem.
The only thing he can do right now is fight Virgil Ortiz over at Golden Boy. Because Conor Ben's not going to go near him with a 10-foot pole over Eddie Hearn.
No.
Josh Kelly
they're not going to put him in there.
Josh Kelly fight makes no sense. No. I mean, at some point, you're still going to want to do business with those PBC guys. And if they're telling you they can't afford you, then what's going to happen?
Yeah, I would agree with that. you know, and Mello says in the chat, I thought Golden Boy was racist too. Remember those emails that came out with him and talking about the PBC Oscar, talking about the PBC or something like that? Wasn't that the case?
Yeah,
a long time ago. He was talking about Joe Savvy said he's not beating Charlo or Castagna. I think he beats both of those guys, and I think he beats them.
You don't think he doesn't think Bud beats Charlo or Castano?
Not a Bud fan, I guess.
All right.
It's the whole thing. Like, you know, Crawford has just made one bad decision after another in his career, and he's really got, you know, there's blame to go around, but he's got to shoulder a lot of that blame too. He really does. You know, whether you're talking about the press, he won't give any Omaha. Wasn't in Omaha. He wouldn't give anybody any interviews. None of the local stations any interviews because he thought that they came out against him. Well, you know, you did go rob a gas station or a car. What is it, that auto center or whatever he did? You remember that? Where his car? Yeah. So his car. You remember this? So it was
that's right. Center. That's right. Yeah.
So his car was there, and he didn't pay him. So he broke in and took his car out. Like, you can't do that. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get legal trouble. Remember the fight with one of his baby mamas or whatever was on. They were scrapping. That was on TMZ. It was like a chick fight or something like that. They were scrapping out in the streets and stuff. You just make bad decisions, man. You know, and if you want to be a bad guy, listen, be a bad guy. Listen, nobody had a less crowd-pleasing style than Floyd Mayweather, okay? I mean, he will, you know, if your average person tuned in to watch him get knocked out, you know, now you and I can look at Floyd Mayweather and say he was a brilliant boxer, and he was. But your average guy at a bar who watches these fights, they want to see action. They want to see knockouts. They want to see this and that. And Floyd couldn't provide that. So what did he do? He provided this personality that you couldn't stand, that you wanted to see him get beat. And that's why people tuned in. You got to create something like that. That's how you do. That's how you're going to get here. You know, you got to create one or the other. But, you know, him being quiet and him being modest, and maybe it's just not in him. Maybe it's just not in him. And that's fine too, because you're winning fights. You're the best fighter, you know, right now, you know, next to Canelo. I mean, you're up there. I mean, I don't know who's better than him and Canelo right now. Tough to say.
He's definitely in the top three. I mean, of the best fighters in the world right now.
Yeah. So
and Usyk and Canelo. I mean, you can, but however you want to slice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, man.
So, what's going on with this lawsuit? So he filed the lawsuit, right? Any comments from Top Rank at all?
No comment from Top Rank. They're smart. They don't give any comments.
Yeah.
No comment. You know, my guess, you know what I absolutely think is going to happen here? I would not be surprised if the lawsuit went by the wayside and he fought Josh Taylor. I really wouldn't, because there's money to be made there in the UK, or, you know what I mean? I think there's I think that fight can generate some money.
Yeah. I think
that watch your mouth. This is beautiful. He said Adrian Bronner makes all kinds of bad decisions and they love him. Because why? Because he's got a personality, man. He's got a personality. He's got that it factor.
Yeah.
He just does. He's a charismatic guy, man.
Mello just said boxing scene just posted an article with Bob's response. Let's see if we can pull that up.
All right, let me see if I can pull this up here. He said the same thing we did. Crawford's lawsuit is frivolous. Bud Crawford's lawsuit against Top Rank is frivolous, said Aram. This is coming from Boxing Scene. Let's see. His vile accusations of racism are reckless and indefensible. He knows it. His lawyer knows it. I've spent my entire life working as a champion of black boxers, Latino boxers, and other boxers of color. I have no doubt that the court will see Crawford's case for the malicious extortion attempt that it is. Wow.
That's all it is.
And that was the only quote from him. Yeah. It's
frivolous.
It's tough. It's tough to say. It's tough to say that, you know, that he's racist when he's worked with Sugar Ray, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Shakur Stevenson, himself, you know, Terence Crawford, Jamel Herring, and countless others of every color. Listen, the only color Bob Arum worries about is green. That's it. That's the only color he worries about. Who draws him money?
You're the second highest paid fighter on the roster. I mean, what do you want?
You know what's funny? You know what this reminds me of is, I used to coach soccer, and they would always say, you always hear this from parents. They won't put I don't think the coach likes him. They won't put him in. The coach doesn't like him. They won't put him in. Listen, I'm telling you as a former coach, if you can play, you will be in. If you can play real well and you can score goals, you can play good defense, you're in. If you can't do that, you won't play as much. The way it is just the way it is. I don't care what attitude we had. We had somebody that just gave me attitude up and down. All right. Maybe came to practice, maybe didn't come to practice, but on game day, they showed up. And, a lot of people, I remember my wife wanted me to sit this person down and everything like that. And, I'm a whore for winning. So I put them in every time because they were good. No matter how much attitude they gave me or anything like that, I put them in,
Beeb would always find a way to let everyone play, though, man. When I used to coach basketball, man, Beeb would always give you a couple of minutes here and there. I can't let you sit down the whole game, man. That's just how I am.
Lisa just texted me. She says, not everyone is a whore for winning like you.
Eric, you know what the problem is? They're kids, goddammit.
Listen.
They're kids.
Winning, and there's nothing else, Daddy.
How old were the kids?
Speaking of winning.
How old were the kids? How old? Kids.
They range. I went from anywhere from 10 to 17, 10 to 17 year olds.
Oh my God! So you're sitting there, you're sitting there telling a 10-year-old that he's got to sit on the bench. You're destroying lives, Eric. You're destroying self-esteems.
Get better at soccer. All right.
You're destroying self-esteem.
Better at soccer.
What a disgrace that is, Eric.
Let me tell you this. How
can you live with yourself after doing things like that?
Oh, it's easy. Don't worry. Let me tell you this too, Beeb. You know who won the fantasy football tournament this year? This guy. That's right. You know who I beat out? Guess what,
Eric? But guess what?
You know who I beat out? My own son.
It's fantasy. It's not real. It's fantasy.
I got the trophy to prove it's real, son. How about that?
It's not real. It's fantasy.
Yeah, it's real. Like Lois.
That is a straw man ad hominem attack.
Oh, ad hominem.
After she put your benefits package together, right? It
was very good benefits package, by the way.
You extra time in your vacationing, right?
Luis Reyes says, I bench my kids for the win. Oh Little Penny is a little bit more pragmatic. He says kids need equal playing time on the court and field. They're kids, tough.
Man.
Tough.
They're kids.
Tough. Get it together.
I let everyone get in, man.
Tough. Little Penny asks, soccer or football? It is football.
Come on, man. This is disgraceful, man.
He said Eric's doing a Phil Jackson when he bench Pippen at the end of the game.
I can't even believe what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah, well, now you know. Now you know, baby.
This is disgusting.
Man. Ruthless, son.
It's not what it should be, man. It's not what it's all about.
Armchair Warrior says, I picked the worst kids to play the most. Eric, you're evil. I love it. I love it.
That's horrible.
I don't care. I don't care. It is what it is. Play to win, or you don't play. Get out of here. That's right, Beeb. Welcome to the real world, Beeb. Sorry I had to open your eyes to this. I'm sorry you had to witness this today.
Wow.
Welcome to the real world.
We'll pull in the chat, man. Should kids 10 and under?
10 and under? They all had to play half at that age.
You said you benched them at 10.
That's right. That's right.
Do a poll. Should kids 10 and under?
It depends on where I put them. Sometimes I put them in meaningless positions so they couldn't hurt the team.
I'm going to do a poll.
That's right.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, put that poll together. Put that poll together. That's right. That's how we're living now.
Should kids? I want Robbie to get mad because we're not talking about boxing right now. Oh, I screwed it up.
You screwed it up.
Let me do it. All right. Okay, create a poll. Here we go.
All coaches do it. Luis Reyes knows. He knows.
Should kids?
Mello says kids have more fun than when they're winning. He's right. Winning solves a lot of problems.
All play.
Come on, put your typing fingers together. Let's get it out there. Come on, Beeb.
I want to see how we. I want to see how these people out here in the chat. If they have a moral compass.
No, nobody has a moral compass. Okay. I didn't even draft my kid in our local pony baseball league. Should kids 10 and under all play and get benched?
And not get benched, I meant to say.
Or not get benched?
I screwed it up again.
All right. Should kids 10 and under all play
and not get benched?
And not get benched. No. Look at that. 60% already said no.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's right, baby. That's what you're dealing with.
That's horrible.
If they want to play more, they work harder. That's right. That's right. Yeah, Drew says he didn't get the question because Beeb worded it poorly.
I worded it poorly.
What are you doing?
And not get benched.
Words are hard. Hey, words are hard. I get it.
I meant to say not get benched, Drew. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm just so flabbergasted at the fact
that ain't good enough. Bench him. Oh my God.
That's horrible, man.
Gotta build character. Touch me and I'll sue.
That's horrible.
Armchair Warrior says, I wear glasses, love sports as a kid. Our school never benched people. The weaker kids need exercise and experience. Well, then they can go to your school, buddy. They can be on your team.
That sucks.
The Me Too movement.
So what do you think's going to happen here? I think it's going to get thrown. I think it's going to get thrown out, to be honest.
It's definitely getting thrown out. It's definitely getting thrown out. But you know what? Listen, those are some strong words from Bob Arum, man. I think that, listen, man, money solves a lot of issues. And I think that I would be surprised because I think that Terence Crawford's going to go out there and test the waters. And I don't know where he's going to go.
So,
you know what I mean? And
Terence
I think ultimately he may be back.
Terence Crawford may be saying to himself, I'm not so sure if I want to do business with this guy anymore after how he treated me and whatever. How the whole thing played out. He's probably not happy with it.
Yeah, I'm again, to me, it's a bad decision to sue him, especially for that. I mean, you can accuse him of a lot of things. Racist, though, that's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah, racism that's like a defamation thing right there, bro.
I mean, if you were biased against Crawford, might be a little bit different. But racism, especially when he's got, he said he's racist against black fighters because he said he favors white and Latino fighters. To me, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to swallow, especially given Bob Arum's track record in the past. He's made millionaires out of all kinds of colors. You know what I mean? And again, at the end of the day, we said this about coaching. If you're good, you're going to play. The coaches will put you in no matter what because they want to win. Again, if you can make him money, you will fight. That's it. That's the bottom line. That's the only thing he cares about.
Yeah, I agree.
No question, man. No question, right?
Yep.
That's all these guys are in the business for. I mean, what do you think? Bob Arum's a Klansman? You know what I mean?
I'm dying to see what these people on YouTube, the people that don't like Crawford, what they're going to do now. If they're all like, you know how they have this, these factions here on YouTube.
Mhm.
I wonder what their reaction is going to be now to Crawford.
Well, if he goes to PBC, they're going to love him. If you know, I mean, that's how it is. But I don't know. But I guess the bigger thing is I don't know where Crawford goes. I really don't. I don't know where he goes from here.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't understand what the strategy is here. I know we keep saying it, but I'm just trying to. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm just trying to brainstorm here and think like, what's Crawford's plan here?
What is it? I don't understand his ultimate play here. Yeah, I'm with you because I'm
just
don't
trying to figure
understand
it
like
out.
his play here. You know.
So if you're suing Bob, then it's going to be hard to do business with them in the near future. So there's probably nobody over there that you want to fight. So you're probably saying to yourself, "There's no one over there I really want to fight." But even still, like he could still like help promote you and work with you, unless I just don't think Crawford can go the Canelo route and be a free agent right now.
He's not a Canelo. He's not a Canelo star.
Yeah, I
You're
just
looking at a guy who got a 300. What was it? The biggest contract in sports. He got the biggest contract in sports. Now, clearly, it wasn't honored. I get that, but they offered him the biggest contract in sports, son.
yeah.
Nobody's beating down Crawford's door to do that.
No.
Boxing with Sean said Bud is drinking that LDBC Kool-Aid. Could be, but the problem is I don't think the LBDC wants him.
Yeah.
It just is. I mean, you know.
Papu says PBC froze Top Rank out and by de facto Crawford out. Well, I don't think they froze Top Rank out. I mean, they still did the Fury fight, but with Wilder. But the thing is those guys over there at the PBC didn't want to fight. You know, they didn't want to mix and match with Crawford. They didn't think they can win the fight. I don't think you can blame. I wouldn't blame Top Rank for that. I just wouldn't. Bengals. The Bengals.
Patriots and Bengals are in it, man. How about that?
I know.
No Paul says Crawford needs to take us all to court for not buying his pay-per-views.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. You want to sue somebody, sue the people. Yeah. Sue us. Because we're not watching them, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
And I've watched all of Crawford's pay-per-views.
Yeah, I'm a big Crawford fan.
I like Crawford a lot.
I don't have any negative to say about Crawford. I mean, but the numbers are what the numbers are. You know, he was on Joe Rogan, but I don't know.
Do more of that.
Yeah, he's
do
gonna
more
be
of that, man. You know, like, it takes a lot more than going on one podcast or whatever. It's got to be, again, everybody wants Floyd Mayweather money. Regardless of how you feel about Floyd, everybody wants Floyd Mayweather. Nobody wants to work like Floyd Mayweather.
Remember what I said about Wilder for the longest time? Like Wilder wasn't like Wilder came on social media, and whether you liked or hated what he said, he put himself out there and he got people to know him, right? He was always going to fights, always doing interviews, very accessible. And he used his Instagram, he used his Twitter, and he used YouTube. And I know he went on these LDBC channels, but it did help him. It did help him get popular. You know, whether or not you liked the whole image that he portrayed on YouTube, it still helped him get popular. And to this day, you know, when Eddie Hearn was saying how no one knows who he is, I give Wilder credit because he took that to heart and he made a concerted effort to put himself out there and get people to know him. And Crawford just never did that. And Crawford's argument is, well, I'm just a boxer. I'm a family man. That's not his thing. But okay, but you have to deal with the repercussions of not doing what Wilder did. If you want to be a certain way and live a certain life, and not saying what you're doing is wrong from an ethical standpoint, but from a business standpoint, like you said, Eric, he may not have done himself any favors. Really didn't. If I'm being honest.
I think it was Armchair Warrior in the chat asked, did Crawford Postal, what did they do? He said 50,000 buys is what that did. Approximately 50,000 buys. Off the Ropes has a really good one. Off the Ropes boxing and MMA. Is Crawford too prideful? That's a possibility too. I mean, listen, man, sometimes pride's one of those things, man. You know, listen, you know, you've got to know your worth, but at the same time, you may overestimate your worth as well. And is he doing that? I don't know. It just depends on what they pay and who he can get to pick him up now.
Papoose makes a good point here. He says, and Crawford can still have the Taylor fight by dealing with Boxer and Sky. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, is it if Crawford if Josh Taylor fights in the UK, then does like who promotes him in the UK? Is Bob Arum his exclusive promoter? I mean, would Bob Arum still be involved with that, even if it was in the UK? Because Bob Arum does have a deal with Sky as well.
Right.
You know, he does have a deal with Sky.
I would imagine you have to run through Bob Arum to get Josh.
I don't know how you can circumvent Bob Arum, regardless of, because Sky's not a promoter, Boxer's not a promoter. Those are broadcasters.
Well, let me see something here. Let me just give me 1 second.
I don't know if Crawford still has options because again, Taylor, you would have. I think the Virgil Ortiz fight is definitely plausible. Ennis,
Josh Taylor is not listed. Incidentally, Josh Taylor, I don't believe, is listed on the Top Rank site.
Okay.
So yeah, that may be.
So he may be right. I mean, I don't know who Josh Taylor's promoter is. I don't know. Oh, Boxer is a promoter. So are they Josh Taylor's promoter? See, I don't know. I don't know if Boxer is Boxer Josh Taylor's promoter over in the UK. If that's the case, then you may have a point. I mean,
Josh Taylor is under an exclusive worldwide promotional contract with Cyclone Promotions, whoever that is.
So Cyclone.
Yeah.
Cyclone Promotions.
Josh Taylor signs with Top Rank Cyclone Promotions. Let's see. Oh, wait a second here. Hold on.
Is he affiliated with Boxer too?
No, I apologize. I'm wrong. Unified welterweight Josh Taylor's from Ring Magazine officially signed a multi-year promotional contract with Top Rank as well as an advisory deal with MTK Global on Thursday. And I don't know when this came out. Let me see. It doesn't have a date.
So he does have a deal with Top Rank. So
that's what it looks like to me. I mean,
it's going to have to go through Top Rank, it seems.
Yeah, but it's funny that he's not listed on that website. I didn't see him on.
He's not listed. He's not listed on the Top Rank website.
I didn't see him on there, but I mean that doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
Armchair Warrior makes a great point. No one will touch Bud now. Listen, nobody wants to get sued. You know.
Yeah. So I guess Cyclone is his former promoter, actually.
Yeah.
I would assume it would have to go through Bob.
I would assume so too. Yeah, I would assume so too.
Yeah, so. you don't know that only in the U.S. That's your speculation. You don't know that. Bob can promote. No, the Papoose is saying only in the U.S. No, you don't know that. Bob has a deal with Sky, so if it's gonna be in the U.K., he's gonna be involved.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to just circumvent Bob 100% here. It's not going to be that easy, bro. You know?
Yeah, he's got himself in a tough situation, man. He really does. He's got himself in a tough situation.
Yeah. But the good thing about Bob is even if he has personal feelings against you, he doesn't hold grudges. If there's a fight to be made, he may still put that fight together for him. You know, he may still put that fight together. But I don't know when you call someone a racist, though.
Man, that's a big.
I don't think anyone's ever. I don't think anyone's ever. I don't think anyone.
Floyd Mayweather didn't Floyd Mayweather do that? Didn't Floyd Mayweather call him a racist and stuff like that?
He wasn't as overt like this. He didn't file a lawsuit. He didn't come out and say it. He insinuated things, but he never really said it. This is like he's accusing him of being a racist and he's suing him for it. I don't think anyone's ever done that to Bob Arum.
That's a big one, man.
This may be a new low. Like I don't think Bob Arum's ever been attacked in this way or had these accusations levied against him like this. I don't think anyone's ever did this like this.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
when you're being sued for discrimination, that's a heavy blow, man.
It really is. It really
so the
is,
kids,
man.
So 70% said the kid, all kids under 10 and under should play. 30 said no. So once again, Eric, you are in the minority with your jaded, twisted opinion.
I'm a winner, Beeb. And of course, I'm in the minority. Remember that. All right.
Well, you seen the
winners
beat?
winners are not in the majority.
I showed you my Coach
There
of the
can
Year
only be
trophy.
one.
I showed you my Coach of the Year trophy, and
For
everyone
what?
on the basketball, Everett Rec League coach,
Oh, for Christ!
and
Kidding me?
every kid on that team played, and we still won. Why? Beep is how to manage people. Learn how to manage people.
You can't even manage Lois, son.
You got to tap into people's
You
strengths and
can't
weaknesses.
even manage Lois. All right, she's all over the place over there. She's deflating. She's in the closet. Give me a break, man. You got to manage her first, or even talk to me about stuff.
This guy Papoose, I love this guy. He's such a contrarian. He goes, Bob will hold the grudge, but Crawford has aligned himself with the right people.
See, I disagree with that 100%.
Who are those right people?
Right.
Tell me who the right people are. You're speculating. He's a free agent. You don't know who he's talking. This is what I love about YouTube, man. Like, you have no idea who he's talking to, what's going on. You already heard PBC say they can't afford him. You already heard Bob saying that he can't draw and he lost money on him. No one's going to go out of their way to do Terence Crawford any favors.
No,
they're not.
You know, PBC, I think if they put that fight on Fox, I think Fox would pick it up. The Crawford fight. I think the Crawford-Spence fight. I think they would pick it up.
I'm not so sure.
You really?
I'm not so sure.
I don't know.
If PBC, if Tim Smith is telling you they can't afford him, then obviously someone above him is in his ear.
There's only one person above him. That's your boy Al Heyman.
You know?
That's it. Papoose says, who's Crawford's advisor? I don't know, but he should fire him. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Crawford doesn't have a contract with MTK, does he? Not that I know of. Crawford's not an
MTK guy. No.
He's not an MTK guy.
Drew says, in no situation will Crawford get his demands of 50-50 no matter who he signs with now. 100%.
No.
I think you're accurate.
Crawford is not an MTK fighter.
What did Floyd get when he fought De La Hoya? What was that split? 70-30?
He got 25 million and De La Hoya got like 50 million.
I thought that split was a lot. I thought it was like 80-20 or 70-30 or something like that.
Yeah, all I know is that De La Hoya got I believe 50 and he got 25. So that's about so if he's getting 25 divided by 95, yeah, that's like got like 33%.
Yeah, 33%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. I knew it was like 70-30, something like that. I'm trying to find it on the fly here, but that is what it is. But, again, man, maybe that's what fighters are missing these days is sometimes you got to take the lower. Sometimes, less is more in the sense that you take that lower payday to get the bigger payday. But you got to bet on yourself to do it. So, I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I apologize. It does say that Daniel Kinahan reportedly advises American boxer Terence Crawford.
Yeah, I told you that, Beeb. Tried to tell you that. You don't want to listen.
So maybe he is affiliated with MTK. I didn't know that.
Isn't that the guy that one dude, that criminal or whatever? Isn't he the mob guy?
He's a big mafia guy.
Allegedly.
So maybe that's a feather in his cap. I stand corrected. That's what we do here, man. We will retract things if we don't know or if we're wrong. I'm not like Eric. Eric will never retract anything. I mean, he'll
never. All right, give it to him.
I'm sorry, Papoose, for questioning you. He loves that.
Say it again, Beeb. Say it with conviction.
I'm sorry, Papoose.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he had a deal with them.
Tell him it wasn't good enough, Papoose. Tell him. Hey, Beeb, why don't you stop calling him a contrarian too?
Well, you are a contrarian. He hates that.
Stop calling him that.
He hates that.
Why don't you stop calling him that, huh?
He does hate that. I've proven him wrong before, and he still won't like admit he's wrong. At least when he proves me wrong, I give him the credit. Like I concede to his point. Even when I show him evidence that he's wrong, oh, just because I know the inside UK, but no, you don't. Come on. Let's not get carried away here now.
So half of the chat is talking about boxing. The other half of the chat apparently is talking about circumcision. Apparently, Armchair Warrior and Little Penny are having this debate on circumcision. What's going on here?
Well, just so you know, I'm circumcised, and
I'm
glad that I am.
TMI, son. TMI. Come on, too much info.
Come on, we're men here. Come on.
Care? I don't want to know about other people's junk. You know what I mean? Manscape your own thing.
Listen, if you're secure in your own skin, things like that shouldn't faze you. All right. I got to question, some things about you if that bothers you. Now I got to question you a little bit.
You got to question me a little bit.
I don't want to get about
circumcision on a boxing show. I
don't want to get too deep into it, but
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, on that note,
I'm Turtleneck and Eric. What does that mean, Turtleneck and Eric?
I don't know. I don't want to.
Oh, that's got. I kind of do know what that means. That's gross.
What's the matter with you? A Maestro video incoming. All right.
Yeah, it probably will be.
All right, guys. All right, that'll do it for this edition. If any more news pops up or anything like that, you know where to find us, man. We'll be right here. All right, guys, that'll do it. And we'll catch you guys Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for all the boxing news and everything like that on our show. All right, guys, we'll catch you then.